I think no question those three presentations have really sharpened our focus on how incredibly complex the gendered aspect of this intersectional phenomenon is. And I'd like to pose to each of the panelists a question before we move into table discussions on the basis of that. Given what we've just heard and the complexity of the gender issue that we're talking about, should we be thinking about sex and gender issues as a specialty focus for those who care specifically for women who are refugees in particular? Or must we be integrating that gender lens into the thinking of everyone involved in refugee health and policy? I'd love to hear briefly from each of you.
I would agree to the second. It's not a specialty issue, just like culturally sensitive practice is not a specialty issue. We all need to be trained in that, and we all need to be trained in becoming more gender aware. And I think one of the main issues in becoming gender aware, and this is something that I'm increasingly seeing, is that when we talk about gender, we think about women. But men have gender too, and they have gender-related issues that interact very closely to those of women's issues. So I think we also need to be very sensitive toward that issue, or else we are stereotyping even more what falls under the female gender. So, and I see it slipping that way, so we need to go back and remind ourselves that gender involves everybody.
I couldn't agree more, despite representing a specialty which in general is gendered. But I do think it's an integrated issue. I think that, first of all, there are now so many specialty areas, genders, transgenders, various groups to be aware of, that if we start segmenting each into its own place, we'll never stop. So I think we all just have to be thoughtful and integrative in the services that we provide and the way we think about providing them. As somebody who does work in women's health care, I would also say that sometimes we are concerned about the place of minorities sometimes, of women sometimes, and so you're not always doing yourself a service to separate yourself into your, so in tiny little area you may find more discrimination or less interest. So to work integratively with everybody, I think, is going to serve everybody's needs best.
It's hard to add to anything to those really comprehensive answers. I agree with everything that's been said. And I agree that there's a risk with segregating out issues and then thinking that the rest of us then don't have to worry about addressing them. So the more we can integrate thinking about issues of gender, just as we have to think about issues of other kinds of diversity, the better we can provide care for everybody.
Thank you. And we do